the river that exposed the limits of the China-Russia-North Korea axis and their competing strategic interests. Do Russia and North Korea fear giving China direct access that could strengthen its naval reach in the region? Moscow and Pyongyang's river corridor strategy keeps Beijing from gaining an easier route to open waters. The battle over Asia's most strategic river could become a major test of ties between China, Russia, and North Korea. China's push for sea access is facing resistance as North Korea and Russia remain cautious about Beijing's long-term ambitions in the region. A tiny border river has re-emerged as a major test of China's ties with North Korea and Russia despite their growing strategic partnership. The Tumen River offers Beijing a potential gateway to the Sea of Japan and direct access to wider Pacific shipping routes. A narrow stretch controlled by North Korea and Russia continues to block direct Chinese access to open waters through the river. Beijing has spent decades seeking greater navigation rights along the strategic waterway to reduce geographic constraints on its northeast provinces. Last month, China and Russia said they would continue discussions with Pyongyang over the future development of the Tumen River corridor. The commitment appeared in a joint statement issued by Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin during high-level talks in Beijing. However, the Tumen River issue was notably absent from official readouts following Xi Jinping's latest discussions with Kim Jong-un. For China, access to the Sea of Japan represents both an economic opportunity and a potentially significant strategic breakthrough. Access could allow Chinese commercial shipping and, potentially, naval vessels to reach open waters through a more direct route. This possibility has raised concerns in both North Korea and Russia about the long-term implications of growing Chinese influence. A 2024 agreement between Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin further complicated China's ambitions regarding the Tumen River. The agreement called for the construction of a new road bridge across the river near the North Korea-Russia border. Analysts said the project highlighted how Moscow and Pyongyang may prioritize their own interests despite close ties with Beijing. Kang Junyang said, and I quote, "Having access to the East Sea means that while Chinese merchant ships could travel back and forth, ultimately its warships could also sail via the Tumen River. Will that be a plus factor for Russia? Probably not. The same goes for North Korea." Unquote. The Sea of Japan hosts Russia's Pacific Fleet and lies close to the maritime approaches of Japan and South Korea. China and Russia have already expanded the scale and frequency of joint military exercises in those waters in recent years. Analysts said any future expansion of Chinese naval access could raise concerns in Seoul, Tokyo, Washington, and even Moscow. Researchers said North Korea has historically been reluctant to become overly dependent on China despite close economic ties. Andrew Yeo said, and I quote, "The line on cooperation on military affairs reiterates the comprehensive nature of Sino-North Korea relations, that the relationship is not just about economics. But it doesn't convey to me the level of military cooperation we've seen between Moscow and Pyongyang." Unquote. For now, however, the Tumen River remains a symbol of China's ambitions and the geopolitical constraints that continue to surround them. China completed a seabed survey east of Taiwan in a move that many observers viewed as carrying potential military significance. According to Chinese state media, the survey helped fill key gaps in Beijing's hydrographic and seabed data across the region. China's maritime authorities conducted the mission during a 5-day law enforcement operation in waters east of Taiwan. Multiple Chinese agencies took part in the operation, including the Coast Guard and maritime safety authorities. The survey marked China's first publicly known effort to map these waters in such extensive detail. The move extended Beijing's operational presence into a region long regarded as strategically sensitive by Taipei. The operation came as Japan and the Philippines advanced maritime boundary discussions in waters east of Taiwan. Zhu Songling said, and I quote, "This part of the sea was relatively peaceful before, and China hadn't really said anything or conducted normalized patrols. It's dangerous because it uses border talk to create legal documents. Then they will use the so-called joint management of maritime areas to establish facts on the ground. After that, they invoke freedom of navigation, maritime security, and collective defense to introduce a military presence. So, China's law enforcement advancing into waters east of Taiwan is to cut off that chain of effort by the US, Japan, and the Philippines. Unquote. Analysts said the survey provided China with a far more detailed understanding of the undersea terrain east of Taiwan. An expert told the South China Morning Post that such hydrographic data could support more effective submarine operations. Unlike the relatively shallow Taiwan Strait, these waters descend rapidly into the deeper Philippine Sea basin. Large sections of the area reach depths between 3,000 and 5,000 meters, giving the region significant military value. The information gathered could support future naval deployments, undersea surveillance missions, and force movement planning. Beijing deployed the Haishuan 08, its most advanced long-range survey vessel, to carry out the mission. The ship reportedly covered more than 1,000 nautical miles of strategically important waters during the operation. Taipei condemned the activities and described them as another attempt by Beijing to expand its control at sea. The developments come as Beijing continues to view Taiwan as part of China and has not ruled out the use of force for reunification. Taiwan carried out coastal drills for a second straight day on June 10, staging large-scale exercises against the backdrop of mounting tensions with China's military. In these drills, Taiwan fired its new mobile HIMARS rocket systems, explicitly simulating the kind of Chinese invasion scenario its defense forces train for every day. The US-supplied launchers demonstrated their shoot-and-scoot tactics, firing and then rapidly relocating in an effort to avoid simulated Chinese counterstrikes. It was also the first time Taiwan had fired HIMARS on its west coast, using positions around the Taichung region to practice defending the island's most exposed shoreline. Notably, a Taiwanese army officer admitted that 4 HIMARS rockets misfired during the drills, describing the technical glitches as part of combat realistic training.
During our firing just now, our first vehicle did experience a system malfunction. The crew of the first vehicle immediately followed our standard troubleshooting procedures to resolve the fault, and in our third firing salvo, fired the rounds that had not been launched. Just now, during the third salvo, the third vehicle also experienced a system malfunction and is currently undergoing troubleshooting. This is also part of our combat realistic training. After last year's equipment reception training, and following a year of combat realistic training, today we came to a combat position to conduct firing with a new weapon system. Our HIMARS, upon receiving the order, completed the task and arrived at position within 3 minutes. Given the current threat environment, we will continue to sharpen our training with even greater dedication, guarding our homeland with the most steadfast conviction, and defending our nation as our most powerful source of strength. This is the first time we have conducted combat realistic firing training on both the north and south banks of the Dajia River. This is different from before. Last year, when we had just received the HIMARS equipment, we conducted live fire test shots at the Jinping base. This year, for the first time, upon receiving orders, we rapidly maneuvered to our positions and conducted firing training at combat positions on both the south and north banks of the Dajia River. Our soldiers followed the guidance of their instructors and standard operating procedures to complete and execute various firing training subjects. We believe that before the media and the public, our HIMARS has demonstrated the ironclad combat power of our unit and successfully completed this training. Thank you.